What's up, guys? This is Ty Zen again, and with me in the studio today, I have some very, very special guests from the cryptocurrency community. With me on my right here, we got the Honorable Grandmaster, legendary LeonFu.com, right?
Hi there.
All right, say hello.
Hi there.
And then also we have in the studio with me today a very special guest, Micah Spruill. He's one of the advisors to the Particl privacy coin project, and he's a veteran cryptocurrency investor. Say hello, Micah.
Hey guys.
All right. And then joining us live from South Africa is Rhino Mate. He's the lead core developer for the Particl project. Say hello, Rhino.
Hi, everyone.
All right. And then joining us from Columbus, Ohio, one of the northern states in the United States of America, is Paul Schmeitzer. He's the communications manager for the Particl project. Say hello, Paul.
Hey, everyone.
All right. So let's go ahead and get started, guys. In this next episode of Particl for Investors Part 2 here, we're going to talk about, in the previous one, we talked about the history and the background of the Particl privacy coin project. And in this part 2, we're going to talk about the technology behind Particl and the need and necessity for the Particl project. So let's get started, right? So you want to explain to the audience about how the Shadow Cash used to use the SDC tokens and the SDT tokens?
Sure. So based on our research here, that we know that since Particl has its history in Shadow Cash protected a user's privacy using ring signatures. You know, we did a big series explaining that. And what actually Shadow Cash did was they had these two tokens, SDCs or SDTs. If you guys ever use Shadow Cash, that refers to the public balance and the private balance. And what it happened was that you were able to exchange your public balance into your private balance and back again, back and forth. But it's the private balance that would actually use ring signatures to obfuscate, that is to hide or make unclear the transaction history. And that's how Shadow Cash maintained the user's privacy. So, Rhino, I'm going to ask you, like, for Particl, how is this going to be different from Shadow Cash? What is Particl going to do that is the same or different from Shadow Cash?
And before you answer, Rhino, if I could just please ask, someone is tapping on the keyboard and it's really loud on this side. So if you guys could just gently touch the keyboard when you use it. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Well, firstly, we're going to have the stealth addresses and the ring signatures. So that'll be the same. We're going to have the public balance and the private balance. But we plan to add confidential transactions and blinded transactions, so people will be able to send coins without there being a visible balance. Only the sender and the receiver will know what the balance is. So you'll be able to do that with ring signatures or without them in normal Bitcoin type transactions.
Okay, so will you guys still be using the two token system in Particl? Like that was used in Shadow Cash, or are you guys going to move to a different system?
Yes, we're still going to have a private balance and a public balance. It's still going to have the same sort of mechanism. Your private pool of coins and then the public.
Okay. And then based on your research, you had some questions about how it was used on the exchange?
Yeah, so in the Shadow Cash was always traded as SDC, the public balance. Will Particl actually? Is it possible to trade the private balance? Because I've never heard of like an SDT until I, actually researched Shadow Cash, because it was always the SDCs that was traded. Is the primary token? I guess my question is, the primary token, do you believe, is that going to be the public balance or the private balance? How is, because the whole point of Particl is the privacy features. So why is there these two tokens here?
Yeah, why not just make it default?
Why not just make it one like Monero?
Okay, by doing that, we don't get all the functionality that we need, like multi-sig wallets. We're not going to have that ability. Well, currently, you don't have that ability in Monero. They're busy working on it, but We also don't have stealth address multi-sigs, just our normal transactions. So for the escrow accounts, we'll be using normal transactions that can be converted into anonymous transactions. And then, that's why we want to make use of both. Also, exchanges have the ability to receive the private balance. They would just need to receive using a stealth address instead of a normal address, and people can make use of the narration field. So it would work the same as Monero if they went that route.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is that the Particl project, since you guys, one of the main benefits of the Particl is that you guys are coming out with the Particl marketplace, and in that marketplace there needs to be some escrow services, and in order for those escrow services to occur, you need the Particl tokens to be able to do escrow. And if you were to just build the privacy in, so it's default, and just use one type of token, then you will not be able to do a multi-signature escrow type service. Is that correct?
Well, we can still do it with the blinded transactions, but we won't be able to do it with ring signature transaction. Not at this point in time.
Okay, so basically, for the investors to understand, the reason why you guys have two tokens is so that it can do multi-signatures transactions, correct?
Or multiple signatures and the staking as well. There's a lot of things that the public balance does differently to the private balance. So we kind of keep the public balance to run the network and to allow people to share their balances if they want to.
Okay. All right. So the next question is, and we got this question while we were doing the research on the Particl project. We contacted one of our good friends, Charles Hoskinson. He's the former co-founder of the Ethereum project, and he's the current CEO of IOHK. And one of the things that he was asking us was that why not build the Particl marketplace on top of an existing cryptocurrency project such as Ethereum, because it has privacy built into its roadmap already. They're going to add the ZK snarks to maintain privacy. Why not just do it there? Why build a completely new cryptocurrency blockchain and then add privacy on it and have its own token system? Can you explain that, Rhino?
Okay. We're not building it on top of Ethereum. We're not sure if Ethereum's battle tested. They've had cases in the past where they've actually changed the way that the code works. So they've done a hard fork without, they had general consensus, but I mean, there were a lot of people that were against it. So it actually has split into two in the past. We also want to allow people to gather their fees. In order to do that, they need to do some work. So proof of stakes is really well in that area. They don't currently have their privacy or ZK stakes working. It's on their roadmap, but that's 3 to 6 months down the line. We plan to release our market before that. So all kinds of these things take into consideration. We also aren't starting the market from scratch. Back with the Shadow Cash project, we worked on it for months, for years. So it's something we're building on top of. We're not starting over.
Okay. Anything to add to that, Paul?
No, I think, what Rhino said, the big part about that too is just, like he said, that this Particl is not starting from scratch. We build a prototype MVP off Bitcoin, and it works for what we're doing too. So, and we have all the privacy from Shadow. We don't have to wait for, if we did it on Ethereum, for it to be done and delay anything else and figure out more problems. So.
Yeah. But then why do you need a separate coin? Why do you need the Particl token? Why not use an existing token? Why not use the Shadow Cash token that was already there? Why are you creating this brand new? You're going through this ICO, this token swap to get rid of all the SDCs, the Shadow Caches, and you're going to create this marketplace with its own token. Why not build this marketplace to use an existing privacy project?
Well, with the do you want me to answer? Well, with the
yeah, Paul, you can go
Sure.
ahead and take that. Yeah.
So with the reason what we have our well, we've hit on it a little bit, but the reason we have the currency within the marketplace is we have proof of stake that's within the platform. So we have we reward the people that are
Yeah, but those features already exist in, say, even Shadow Cash has those features, right? And why does this marketplace needs a separate coin, I think is the question. There's plenty of privacy project coins out there. Why do you need another one to operate this marketplace?
With the token itself, we're giving them the anonymity. It has all the features that we need. So the multi-sig in order to enable the escrow, and then the privacy features, all these features together that come as part of the token, things other tokens don't cater for.
So you're saying other tokens, all the other tokens out there that are building this don't have these features that the marketplace would need? Is that what you're saying or implying?
Yeah, well, quite a lot of them. Ethereum, for instance, doesn't. It's a smart contract platform. You build on top of it. So we wouldn't use the token itself. Could shapeshift into it, but we need our own token to add all the features that the others don't have. Like Zcash, we don't know if their privacy is working, or if their escrow is working, if it works with their anonymous transactions. And then Monero, for instance, they don't support escrow, and they don't have multi-sig. So our token is unique in that it has all the features we need for the market.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is that because from an investor's perspective, right, they want to know, like, why are you creating a new token or a currency for Particl's marketplace, for why not use a current existing one? And what you're basically saying is that the current existing cryptocurrencies on the market do not have all the privacy and anonymous features and the marketplace features that you guys need to operate the marketplace, the Particl marketplace. Is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, we need the full package.
Okay. All right. So the next thing is this, right? Let's talk about the shortcomings of the other privacy coins that prompted you guys to build the Particl project, right? When we spoke in private, you had mentioned, this question is directed to you, Micah, right? You said that the other cryptocurrencies, the other privacy coins, such as Monero, Bullberry, Bitcoin, Dash, and all these, they're feature-based, and Particl is more focused on a platform base, right? So can you talk about that?
Yeah. This is one of the things that we believe is unique with the project, and that is kind of the full package, just like Rhino was touching on with the currency. You have to build these things to cater to what you need. And we think that for Particl or any of these anonymous currencies, you need somewhere to spend them, use case. And so the whole idea with this is to create a platform with, confident or anonymous transactions, anonymous messaging, and anonymous e-commerce. And so by packaging all that together, you're providing communities with a full suite and a use case for, to be able to use the currency itself. Whereas with these other currencies, while some of them do anonymity very, very well, and that's what they've focused on, the risks, and this is something known to everyone in the community, in the cryptocurrency community, is the risks are that Ethereum or Bitcoin can just come in with their massive network and the resources and basically say, hey, we really like how they did anonymity, or let's put that on Bitcoin, because that's coming. Same with Ethereum, with the ZK snarks. And so what happens is now, if you're a one-trick pony, that's what you just do the one thing very well, and then a larger network comes in and takes that feature, then you might, the long term or the longevity of your project might be damaged by that. And so while a single feature coin is important for fungibility and store of value, and I think these all have at least a handful of those over there. They all have they're important coins and they need to be in the ecosystem. We want with the privacy project, the team wants to provide a use case a platform to be able to use the anonymity, to use the privacy, to spend it, to receive it, things like that. Right now with some of these coins, you can use them on like a darknet market and other places. But that's kind of the extent of how they're used.
So basically, to summarize it for the investors, what you're saying here is that the reason why you guys to go the platform route versus the feature route, one is that you guys didn't want to come up with something and then the bigger cryptocurrency projects such as Bitcoin or Ethereum come in, adopt that one feature,
Right.
and then there's no reason to use
Because
that
their network's
anymore.
so much larger than yours.
Okay, and then the second thing is that you said that these cryptocurrencies, these privacy coins over here, once they create it, you have to go find a marketplace or a use case
Right.
for it, whereas you guys are building the marketplace and the use
Yep.
case for that
Yep.
token and that cryptocurrency at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
so that when people they have the particle tokens, they have a place
Place
to
to
actually
spend
go
it.
and use
Right,
it.
Right. And I will add also, one of the unique things we're doing with this platform, and it was a decision we made during the transition from the Shadow project to Particl, was to create it, to make it currency agnostic. We want to foster an environment of inclusivity, not exclusivity.
Okay.
And so we think that's kind of a big issue right now in cryptocurrencies with currencies and platforms and teams kind of fighting each other, saying, we're better, you should use us instead, or no, we're better, and then they FUD and things like that. What we want to do is say, hey, everybody
Can come and use the particle
platform, right? And that will be a later iteration on the platform. At first, it'll be Shapeshift integration, but I know the team is working on developing ways where you would just bring your Monero or you'd bring your Zcash and you'd be able to spend it, with any vendors that accept that currency.
Do they need to accept that currency?
Not even, not if they don't want to. But early on they could say, hey, I also accept this. But the whole plan would be to integrate some sort of exchange, whether it's with a partnership of another decentralized exchange or something native, like where you have a vendor over here who wants Monero and another guy who wants Particl, they could swap, or vice versa. So you can build that into the network. That'll come later. But that's the whole point with this, is say, hey guys, we want to adopt and include all of the network effects of Monero, Bitcoin, Ethereum, because those are huge communities. And instead of trying to fight them and say, hey, we're going to try and outbuild your platform, that's not what we're trying to do. That's not.
We want to work together.
Right. That's
Okay.
what we should be doing, because it's not us against each other. It's us against people that want to take our privacy away and monitor everything.
So you want to add features. You want to do things that these other projects are not doing, and
Right.
add, say, a marketplace that they can then take their coin and use. For
Right.
something.
We wanted
Yes.
to offer as many things as possible.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, so the first question because whenever you guys talk about, the particle marketplace, the first question that comes to an investor's mind is, what type of vendors or merchants would want to use the particle marketplace?
Right.
What's wrong with why not just, if I'm a vendor or a merchant, why don't I just go use the current existing ones, such as Amazon or eBay? Why would I want to come to the marketplace? The particle marketplace.
That's a good question. So one thing I'll note, like we've talked about before in the past, this is not, I don't see this marketplace as being something that's going to replace my Amazon Prime membership. That's not what it's geared to do. But there's a large amount of people around the world, both in developing and in developed nations, tens of millions, that either don't have access to eBay or Amazon accounts, have lost their privileges on them. They don't have access to banking. There's this huge group of not just unbanked people, but people that they aren't even offering these services in their countries, or the government has censored what you can buy and sell for various reasons. There's censorship in China, there's censorship in other countries around the world, and so what we want to do is our focus is targeting those people.
So basically, you're saying that the particle marketplace is not designed to be a dark net,
No.
Or to sell illegal stuff.
Right.
It's designed to help and foster the people, the business people, the vendors and merchants who simply cannot open up a marketplace online.
Absolutely,
Right?
and you'll
Regardless
even
if
find,
they're in the first world country or third world country,
right.
it doesn't matter.
there's a large group of people like that, and there actually are people as well. We've got one of the advisors. He's an e-commerce advisor, and he markets things on eBay and Amazon. He said, "Hey, I've got product that I would actually want, like Particl is an answer to prayer for someone like him." He says, for various reasons. But he said he would be one of those that would probably use all the platforms, to market his products. But there's a lot of people that don't even have that option.
Okay, so let's talk about
those are who we're targeting.
So let's talk about the consumers that would use the Particle Marketplace. Like as a consumer, what reason would I have to come and buy products and services from the Particle Marketplace?
Exactly. Like all these products that you've pictured here, I can get them on Amazon or eBay,
Yeah,
right?
I can buy the clock.
I
off
can
of
buy a clock. I mean, there's
eBay.
nothing on here that I couldn't get off
Right.
Amazon or eBay, right?
Yep. So for consumers, we think that that what you'll find is there's going to be a large group of people that never had access to these types of markets, and now they do. And so there could be a whole host of new products or products at better prices because the fees are lower. They can outsell those people on eBay and Amazon. And so what we're expecting is that there's going to be a similar amount of consumers that will match those new vendors that come on. And that's kind of one of the things we're expecting, like especially in the developing.
So you're saying the products that give me some
Can you
examples,
give some examples?
because I can't think of
You or
anything.
Paul or somebody give us some examples.
What would I buy? What would I see here on a Particle Marketplace that I couldn't just go buy on Amazon or eBay?
I would say I would expect a lot of the products that we'd find that you'd find on here, especially in the developing countries, are products that people just don't. They can't easily get them. Governments.
Are they niche products? Are they
not even niche products, but just products that they're not even available online, and once they're now online, they can go get them.
Can you give me an example of that?
We're talking about coffee beans
Coffee
from
beans,
Colombia.
Anything, honey, wood carvings. I mean, all sorts of things that you'd not only use in your daily life, but also things, collectibles, and also niche products. We would expect.
So the only thing based on what you're saying that I can think of is somebody who makes something. One of these person who can't use Amazon or eBay, but they're in some local country, and it's like you said, honey from a specific region of the world that can't sell on Amazon or eBay. Is that more?
Yeah, it would be things like that. Like if you look at Open Bazaar, people are very creative on what they've put on there. There's all sorts of guys that they either make their own foods, spices, they do their own wood carvings. I mean, there's all different things that people, paintings, artists, artwork, leather, everything.
No, I can see where something that I can see on here, like Leon and I like to eat beef jerky.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So for example, like in the US, you have to sell the beef jerky in a specific way. In other words, it has to meet certain standards that the Federal Drug Administration, the Food and Drug Administration, sets guidelines that in order for you to sell your beef jerky to the public, it has to meet certain guidelines. It has to be able to last 30 days.
Right.
You can't, I'm just making up those numbers.
Absolutely.
But you can't, if they say that it has to last 30 days and your beef jerky only lasts 10 days, they won't let you sell it.
Yep.
Right? For example, Leon currently lives in the city of Austin, which is located in the state of Texas. I used to live there as well, right? And there was one thing that always annoyed me was that I wanted to go buy some fresh squeezed orange juice. And I squeeze fresh squeezed orange juice myself. I know that after you squeeze it out of the orange, it will last 3, 4, 5 days.
Yeah.
It's not going to go bad if you refrigerate it. But under the laws of the city of Austin, I think there was some type of law where you could not sell orange juice that was fresh squeezed that was more than a day old. Right?
Yeah.
And so they had the vendor that I bought from, every day they had to throw away what they couldn't sell. And I don't see why they're not allowed to sell something. I don't mind, getting the 1 or 2 day. It doesn't bother me if it's refrigerated.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, there's a lot of products out there that eBay, Amazon, and PayPal have banned. And they're not even necessarily harmful to people. I mean, it could be things like cigars, and they say, sorry, we don't allow tobacco products. Or someone's local, they've distilled their own liquor or whatever. Things that are kind of, they're not allowed on these platforms where, people should be able to buy and sell freely, what they choose.
Do you see someone, like now marijuana is actually legal in many states.
Yep.
It's illegal some places and legal in other states. Do you see possibly...
That's a tough one to answer. We expect people to follow, the rules and regulations of their own, jurisdictions.
Yeah.
Obviously, things that are clearly illegal and harmful to people, and with the governance system they're setting up in the marketplace, those types of things would be monitored and dealt with by the community, so that say, hey, this is harmful or this is bad for everybody. So we don't we don't want it to be a darknet market, but we also aren't necessarily trying to replace where you buy like your toilet paper or mop. Although there are nations where they can't get toilet paper,
Sure.
and so maybe you'll find toilet paper on there in Argentina. It just depends. But it's like with Bitcoin that back in the day, people said, well, what are you going to use it for? No one's ever going to use it. And then people got creative. Yeah. And then all of a sudden now there's tens of thousands of use cases for Bitcoin. We expect people to get creative and start using this platform for those types of things, maybe things that we can't even come up with or conceive right now.
So the next thing that we want to address or discuss is some of the challenges that as Leo and I were researching the Particl marketplace, some of the challenges we found were, first of all, was the market analytics. You want to go over that?
Yeah. So we're all very familiar with eBay and Amazon, and we know that they have very powerful market analytics because they have all this data. Because as we know, you're giving up your privacy. So one of the ways they use that data is to give recommendations. So whenever I search for something, not only do I get the product I'm looking for, I also get a bunch of other products that they know have a very high probability of me buying that product, right? If we're searching for, say, this remote, it's going to show me that 5 other that could be better than what I was looking for, more suited to what I was looking for. So I don't think Particl can do that because you don't have this data. So customers want to buy, merchants want to sell. How are you going to compete with that? Because while being private,
right? Yeah, it's a good question. And one thing I would say to this is essentially that's not necessarily what the marketplace is engineered to do. I mean, you're competing against multi-billion-dollar companies and their analytics. Tens of years of analytics being built in their system, using us as consumers as kind of the product to determine what we should be buying and selling, or what they should be serving up to us. And so what I would say is the users on the Particl marketplace, what they're going to be looking for and the way they're going to use the marketplace, I would argue, is not necessarily going to be handicapped by not having these user analytics. That's not the purpose of the marketplace. So you're in a way sacrificing some of the convenience and finding 5 different remotes, even though I don't think you would necessarily
but
go
I
there
want
for
the best remote,
right? Of course.
Right.
And so, but I might not be trying to get the best of, I might, when I go to Particl marketplace, it's because I've done research on what I want, whether it's an artisan style thing or if it's a remote, and I can go on there and say, I want this remote, and I search directly for that. And so, it's up to the user to determine what they're going to try and find on the marketplace. And so rather than relying on some, algorithm on Amazon, if I know that I want this guy's honey in Arizona, then I'm going to go on there to search for that type of honey.
So you don't plan on seeing Particl if I'm searching for a guy in Arizona's honey that, hey, here's a guy from Utah that you might like.
Well, if I'm searching for honey, though, then it's going to show up there anyways.
That's true.
But I'm not relying on an algorithm to say this honey is better than this.
Like if I search for a Logitech remote, I might say, hey, here's a Sony remote, right? That you might like better.
Right.
Right. So you don't believe that
it's going to find the keywords like remote and show you remotes, but it's going to be up to you to determine, is this remote better than that one? I mean, there's reviews and stuff that you can do, but there's a human aspect to this. You've got to use your own senses and your own research.
I kind of feel that the search results, because you lack these recommendations, will be far more narrow than if I just have a vague idea of what I want. Like I'm not quite sure. I want something that looks like a remote to say move through these slides, but I'm not quite sure what I'm looking for. That I might search for something that's close, but not exactly. And we all know Google and eBay's analytics and search engines are decades ahead of anything you guys could be. Right. And so do you feel you will still be competitive? Like enough, you can still get enough competitive vendors.
I think so, because again, you're going more for niche products where the person already knows what they want. I wouldn't fire up the Particl marketplace if I were just saying, hey, I feel like getting a remote today. I'm going to go do the research and determine what type of remote I want. And again, I would argue that that is not the field where the marketplace is trying to compete in.
Okay.
If I know that I want to look at art things in a certain country, then I go to the country category and I search clay, pottery, or whatever.
Okay.
And whoever is selling that, they're going to have multiple tags on their listing. Hopefully, it's more up to them, the vendors, to market themselves.
Okay.
If you want to sell something, you've got to market yourself in a way that that is going to be caught by the consumer and by the search engine. And people are creative. I see it all the time in different websites where the algorithm is not that advanced, but the person obviously knew what they were doing and trying to get out there as much as possible. So the responsibility falls on you. But that's the double-edged sword with the privacy and security and all those things that you're getting with the marketplace that you're not necessarily going to get with Amazon. And again, these are people that may not even have access to Amazon to begin with, so they don't even know that they're forgoing these powerful analytics because that's not Again,
that's not your target merchants or customers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I don't even know that it exists anyways, then it's not a feature I'm sacrificing because it's not available to me anyways. Okay. So that would be my response.
All right. So how you had mentioned that.
So I was looking for something. When you said you wanted to do a decentralized marketplace, I started looking at what else out there. So
Bazaar.
obviously, find Open Bazaar, right? And one of the challenges I think they are having, and therefore you will have, is their search engine.
Yep.
Which frankly sucks.
Yep.
Okay. I can't find anything I'm looking for there. And obviously, once again, eBay and Amazon have decades of experience doing search, not only analytics, but also search. So I will say that you don't have to be as good as Amazon and eBay, but you got to be a lot better than Open Bazaar, right? And so how are you going to find relevant products? Could you go into detail? Have you guys thought about how are you going to do search better?
Yeah, so I've asked the team. We've talked about this and said, how is the search? How is this going to work? And so, in the early stage, and again, there will be iterations as you kind of get feedback from customers and say, hey, this guy's, these people are gaming the system this way. Then you try and create methods to combat
because that's a
these
constant
issues.
battle with Google, right?
Absolutely.
They're constantly
People are
battling
always
gaming the system, right?
But early on would be basically you'd have tags. Those would allow your search engine to pick up on things, but they would be limited tags because if you do unlimited tags, people get crazy and they'll have 100 tags and it'll be all sorts of things so you always show up. So you got to limit the amount of tagging someone can do to where they have to make sure it is at least somewhat relevant to the searches they're going to be in. And then another method, because it's a decentralized marketplace, there's no central algorithm or authority that's going to go in there and say, hey, this is not a belt, this is honey. Yeah. You're going to rely on the network to help kind of police.
Community policing yourself.
Right, exactly. And that's again, one of the things. It's like, it's a decentralized network. There is no centralized network. So it's going to be up to the community to keep it a clean place. And we feel.
And what's the incentive? After you said that, what's the incentive for me to do that? If I am a Particl user.
Because I understand that it's one of those things. What's the incentive not to litter? Most people don't litter. We know it's for the common good. And so if I'm on there and I'm searching for a belt and sunglasses keep popping up, I'm going to want to be pruning these things, saying this is
so
not
you're expecting then the
altruism
to,
right to make it a better better network because that's all you can do. I mean, unless you set up some sort of reward system,
which is what I was thinking of, is that maybe you need to incentivize people to do that.
You can, or you could hire some of these groups, or you could have the network cover the costs of in a way moderators, but that again starts to kind of go starts putting centralized, and that's again the double-edged sword. And so how much is too much? And it's a fascinating issue we're all having to deal with in the decentralized community and in cryptocurrencies. And so some of these things, the answers to them won't be necessarily clear today.
Yeah. Okay.
Like decentralized governance and decentralized revenue sources, all these things that cryptocurrencies are trying to figure out right now.
Mm-hmm. So would it be fair to say would it be fair for us to say that the search engine will be fairly primitive at the beginning, and that will need to be a lot of resources? Yeah. What I'm saying is a lot of resources are going to be need to put into both your you won't have any analytics, so that's one thing, but a lot of I could see this being a resource sink that you will you will be spending a large portion of your resources trying to get your search engine.
It could be a resource sink, but it could be a very good resource sink. And that, the marketplace and what you find, it's very reliant on good search results.
Yeah,
like
that's
you
right.
said with OpenBazaar, most people don't want to use it because they can't even find what they're
anything.
looking
Yeah,
for.
that's right.
If they focus on fixing that, which I'm sure they're working on, then if they come up with ways of addressing that, that's great. And so we expect, we're all moving forward in this OpenBazaar, Particl, and other networks building similar or whatever certain products. We're gonna be able to look and say, oh, they address this issue this way, or we're gonna come up with a way to say, oh, we've addressed gaming the system this way. And so, while it could be resource intensive to figure out, I would argue it's one of the most important things to figure out.
I would agree with that.
So it would be a very good way of spending resources of the project to figure it out. But that's going to definitely be a focus.
All right. So the third challenge, and this is probably for you, Rhino, right here, is the mobile platforms. How will Particl run on mobile platforms and remain decentralized? Because from our understanding, Particl needs to run constantly to keep the marketplace listing active, right? For example, OpenBazaar's does not.
Yeah, and therefore OpenBazaar you can't run OpenBazaar on a mobile platform, right? So how is Particl going to solve that problem? Because we believe that mobile is the primary computing device right now. So how are you going to be able, I can get Amazon on an app, I can get eBay on an app. How am I going to run Particl on my phone, on my iPhone or Android?
Okay, well, your listings are going to be, the listings are updated every 2 days. So the way you pay a listing fee to keep your ad active for 2 days, and then it could potentially pay extra to keep it active for longer. So the mobile device only has to connect every 2 to 4 days to get the latest listings. The listings will be synced to the device, but the actual blockchain or Particl itself won't be. So the currency side of it, that'll be using SPV, so Light Wallet, and then the actual listings will be synced to your device. So you will be able to search through them, and it's just the messages that are going to be synced and gathered on your device. You'll keep maybe, 10,000 things at time active.
So you said the mobile device, you're going to sync, say, a few days worth of listings. Is that what you mean? Like if I'm on this iPhone and I want to search Particl, my iPhone has to go download some blocks from the blockchain to get these listings, and then...
Yeah, well, it's not the blockchain itself. It's just buckets of messages.
Okay,
so
messages, okay.
You have to download a few messages in order to get the data.
Okay, so it's a message-based system. Like the listings are actually messages, like an email? Is that what you mean, or...?
Yeah, the listings themselves are messages, and then they index into a local database.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so therefore you don't need, if that's the case, I wouldn't even need to have internet access once I've synced, you're saying?
Yeah, you'll be able to search for them offline, search through the listings offline.
Okay, all right, that's an interesting method.
Okay, so the fourth challenge that we see to the Particl marketplace or the Particl project is the reputation systems, You want to explain what the reputation system is?
So we are all familiar with Amazon, eBay, especially because eBay is a peer-to-peer market. So they, many systems do that. Uber, Airbnb, it's all this reputation system where, people, their customers would review each other, and then you build up a reputation. So my question is, what type of reputation do you see a challenge for this? Because this is really a big part. The reputation is a big part of consumer protection to make sure you're going to get what was advertised, right? And also to weed out scammers, illegal products. Could you just give us, and it's a little bit open-ended, how do you see that happening in Particl?
Okay, well, each time you do a successful deal, there will be a transaction on the blockchain. No one would know who it belongs to, but there's a public key that's linked to an escrow address that you have the private key for. So all those public keys for every transaction you've done successfully, you could sign a signature to prove that you had a successful deal. So in order to prove your reputation, you would sign all your successful deals that are on the blockchain to prove to someone that you have done successful deals. And if you were to do something wrong, they could record the malicious deal on the transaction that you tried to be malicious against them. So that would be negative reputation.
Okay. Okay. And I guess would it be similar to what we're already familiar with? Do you envision maybe you can talk about the user experience or the UI? Would I be like 0 to 5 stars and I write, hey, this guy ripped me off? I mean, a little space. Is that what you envision it to be, or?
Okay. No, you're only going to know what someone's reputation is once you start to go into escrow with them. So once you start to make a deal with someone, then you're going to swap your
Wait a
reputation.
minute. Don't I want to know his Don't I want to know his reputation before I do a deal with him? I mean, is that something I can look up, or?
No, well, at that point, you're still in negotiation. So you would say, okay, buy this product. And then they would come back to you and they're either going to say, okay, I have this much reputation, so we don't need to do 100% escrow, or I have no reputation at all, so then you need to put down 100% deposit on top of your payment price.
Okay.
So mutually assured destruction, people are going to lose money, and based on their reputation, they might have a lower escrow rate.
Okay.
Yeah, so essentially when you decide that you would like a product, you click buy and it sends a message to the individual, and that's where you kind of create the first bridge between you two, and then you can see the reputation and if you want to enter into escrow for the item or not.
Okay.
I don't think it doesn't lock you in at that point. You can decide that you don't want to.
You don't want to. So you have to make a pre-commitment, like to say, I might want to buy this.
Right.
And then you can say, who am I buying it
that
from?
creates a connection between you and the,
Okay.
because again, this is all anonymous, it's secure. There has to be messages exchanged between the two people. And if you decide, hey, he doesn't have a very good reputation, either I don't want to do it or I'm going to require full escrow.
Full escrow.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
But if he has a good reputation, you might say, hey, only 10% escrow or no
So
escrow.
the reputation is kind of tied to the escrow. That's how you guys are thinking. This is the train of thought. Is that?
I think he would.
Yeah. So the reputation, Rhino, is also tied to the amount of escrow you need. The advantage of you having higher reputation is you
Lower
might
escrow.
require less escrow.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the fifth
You might be
challenge.
able to do deals with people more efficiently or at a lower rate for them
Okay, so the
because
fifth.
you have this reputation.
Okay, so the fifth challenge that I see to the Particl platform is the seller's protection. Can you explain how the default privacy feature protects sellers from competitors? Right? Why do vendors want privacy anyway?
I think that's something Micah might be better suited to answer.
So as far as the seller's protection?
Yeah.
Why?
Right.
I think the
Well, I
question
mean,
is
but
like, what-
people can rip off people in either direction.
Sure, yeah.
If I'm selling things and I ship it to someone and they just never pay me, then I want to be protected for that.
Yeah, and
So
that's the purpose of the escrow. Right?
and the mutually assured destruction, that's a game theoretic method of dealing with this issue. It's a very interesting way of dealing with this issue. So it's kind of saying we both have skin in the game. And that way I can ensure that, he is going to actually pay me for the product that I just shipped to him.
Now, my question to you is there any example of this mutual assured destruction in practice right now? Is there any marketplace that I've read about it? I know what it is, but I don't know of any
think
real example.
BitBay might
BitBay?
actually, yeah, BitBay.
Who is BitBay?
BitBay is another cryptocurrency.
Okay,
that's
so
building
you
on
want to explain to the audience real quick what the mutual shared destruction is?
Yeah, so from my understanding, it's basically the seller and the buyer put in a deposit, and if the deal goes bad, then they both lose their deposit, hence it's mutually destroyed, right? They both lose money on that, and that gives both sides an incentive to act honestly in the deal. It sounds like it might work, but I've just not seen an actual marketplace doing
It's
that.
one of the better ways of addressing the whole issue without having third-party escrow agents. You've got to make people have skin in the game, otherwise you're always going to gain it.
I wonder if it will actually work in the real world.
But
Because I've never
my
seen
question
it.
is this, right? Is that how does that? I mean, why do the vendors want privacy? If they're selling their product, if I'm selling remote controls, right? Why do I want privacy in selling it? I want people to know that customers are buying from me, so other customers can see that I'm selling a lot of these remotes, so they can come and buy it from me. So why do I need to keep that private for?
Well, I think it just goes. It's a two-way street. There's no way to have privacy just as a one-way street. So if seller or buyers are wanting privacy on their end, obviously the vendor is going to need to have it regardless. There's no way of having just a one-way street. And so this again gets back in the whole thing of there's plenty of products that people want to buy or sell that they want privacy to do it. And so that the vendors have to offer the privacy on the platform. There's no that just it's a package deal. You can't have if sellers or buyers want privacy for what they're getting, whether it's because of government censorship or it's a product that is kind of a gray area, or maybe eBay, Amazon, and PayPal don't allow it, and so they have to go the private route. There's no way for them to do that without vendors using privacy too. So if the vendor wants to sell their product, regardless of what it is, they need to be private. It just needs to be by default.
All right. So this will conclude part 2, right? For more information about the Particl.io, check out Particl.io, right? And we'll see you guys in the next part.